Welcome to the store. Don't forget to subscribe, and support me.
The land of Valthoria had known peace once, long ago. Rolling green hills stretched across the horizon, the rivers ran clear, and the people thrived in harmony with the earth. But now, it lay in ruins. The once prosperous fields were withered, the crops barely hanging on to life. The people, those who had survived the wars, were scattered, hungry, and hopeless. Alex stood at the edge of a broken wall, looking out over what remained of his home. His hands, calloused from years of rebuilding, gripped the rough stone. He could still remember the stories his father used to tell him, stories of the Silver Crown, a legendary artifact said to hold the power to control the land itself. With it, his father claimed, Valthoria could rise again, the earth would once more yield its bounty, and the rivers would flow with life. But that was before the wars. Before the evil mage Malgorth had come, seizing power and plunging the kingdom into chaos. Now, those stories felt like little more than a distant dream. Yet Alex clung to them, because they were all he had left. They were Valthoria's last hope. The people won't survive another winter. Lyra's voice pulled him back to reality. The young mage stood at his side, her eyes sharp and full of concern. She had been with him since the fall of his father's castle, using her skills in magic to heal the wounded and ward off the worst of the dark forces that still lingered in the land. But even her magic was limited. "I know," Alex said quietly, his gaze not shifting from the barren landscape before him. The wind blew dry and cold, carrying with it the scent of decay. "But there's still a way. The crown, it's the only thing that can save us now." Lyra's expression darkened. "You know as well as I do that hundreds have tried. That maze Malgorth hid it in, it's not just traps and puzzles. It's alive, twisted with his magic." Alex nodded. He knew the risks, but he had no choice. His people were starving. If they were to survive, if there was to be any future at all, they needed the Silver Crown. Not as a weapon, but as a tool. A way to restore the land and heal the wounds Malgorth had inflicted. "I'm not going to force my way in like the others," Alex said, determination hardening his voice. "I'll approach it differently. We'll use strategy, trust, whatever it takes to avoid violence. There has to be another way." Lyra studied him, her eyes searching his face for doubt, but she found none. Alex had always been stubborn, just like his father, but there was something else in him, something that made her believe he could succeed where so many others had failed. Still, the risks were immense. "You won't be going alone," she said, her tone firm. "If you're going into that labyrinth, you'll need more than just a strong will." Alex turned to her, gratitude softening the lines of his face. "I wouldn't think of going without you." That evening, as the remnants of the council gathered in the crumbling halls of what had once been his father's castle, Alex laid out his plan. His advisors were skeptical, some even hostile to the idea. Roderick, his most loyal knight, leaned forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "You want to walk into that maze without an army? Without a real plan of attack?" Roderick asked, his voice low but tense. Alex met his gaze evenly. "Yes. An army won't get us through the labyrinth. It'll only provoke whatever magic Malgorth has waiting. We need to be smart, not forceful." Roderick opened his mouth to argue, but it was Mara, the quietest of the group, who spoke next. "He's right," she said softly. The shapeshifter's voice was like the wind through the trees, gentle but carrying a weight that silenced the room. "The labyrinth is not a place of war. It was designed for those who think they can take power by force. It will destroy anyone who tries. Her words hung in the air, and slowly, the objections died down. Roderick sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "If you're dead set on this, I'll follow you. But make no mistake, this is a suicide mission." Alex nodded. "Then we'll have to make sure it isn't." The journey to the labyrinth of Malgorth took several days. Each step brought Alex and his small group closer to the fabled maze that had claimed so many lives before. The land surrounding the labyrinth was as desolate as the kingdom itself. Nothing grew here, the soil black and dead, the sky perpetually overcast with thick clouds. As they reached the entrance, a chill ran through Alex. The stone archway was carved with strange runes, glowing faintly in the fading light. Beyond it, the maze sprawled out in a series of high stone walls, twisting and turning into the distance. It was a place of nightmares. "Looks welcoming," Roderick muttered, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword. "It's not meant to be," Lyra said, stepping forward to examine the runes. "These markings, they're ancient. Malgorth's magic is woven into the very walls of this place. We'll need to be careful." Alex took a deep breath. "We're not here to fight the maze. We're here to find a way through it." With that, they stepped into the labyrinth. Immediately, the air grew heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness. The walls towered above them, cold and unyielding, and the path ahead seemed to stretch on forever. For hours, they walked in silence, each turn leading them deeper into the heart of the maze. The atmosphere was oppressive, as if the very air was watching them, waiting for a misstep. It wasn't long before they encountered their first true challenge, a massive stone giant, its hulking form blocking the only path forward. Its eyes glowed with an eerie light, and as they approached, it let out a low, rumbling growl. Roderick instinctively reached for his sword, but Alex held up a hand. "No," he said quietly. "We're not here to fight." The giant watched them, unmoving, its gaze shifting from one member of the group to the next. Alex stepped forward cautiously, his heart pounding in his chest. "We're not enemies," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We seek passage through the labyrinth. We mean no harm." The giant tilted its head, as if considering his words. After a long moment, it spoke in a voice like grinding stone. "None who enter here leave without payment." Alex nodded, understanding the nature of the challenge. "We have no gold or treasure to offer," he said. "But we can offer something more valuable, knowledge." The giant's eyes narrowed. "Knowledge?" "Yes," Alex said, taking a step closer. "You've been trapped here for centuries, guarding this maze, watching as countless fools try to fight their way through. But the world outside is changing. The wars are over. There's peace now, a chance to rebuild. I can tell you of the world beyond these walls, of the new life that's waiting for you if you're willing to listen." For a moment, the giant said nothing, its expression unreadable. Then, slowly, it stepped aside, clearing the path. "Go," it rumbled. "And remember, not all who guard this place are as willing to listen." As they continued deeper into the maze, Alex's companions began to understand the wisdom of his approach. Each obstacle they faced required more than just brute strength, it required trust, strategy, and sometimes, sacrifice. At one point, they were forced to cross a narrow bridge over a chasm, with a powerful wind threatening to knock them off balance. It was Mara, with her ability to shape-shift into a bird, who flew ahead to guide them safely across. Each challenge they overcame brought them closer together, forging bonds of trust that Alex knew would be essential in the final confrontation with Malgorth. But the closer they got to the heart of the labyrinth, the more dangerous the challenges became. The group pressed on, deeper into the labyrinth, and with every step, Alex felt the weight of their mission pressing on his shoulders. Each twist and turn in the maze seemed designed to mislead, the walls shifting subtly behind them, as if the labyrinth was alive, watching their every move. But Alex refused to be discouraged. He was not here to fight the maze, he was here to outthink it. As they ventured further, they encountered another obstacle, a vast courtyard guarded by stone statues that lined the perimeter. At first glance, the statues seemed harmless, worn down by time and neglect, their features eroded by wind and rain. But as Alex and his companions moved closer, the statues began to stir, their eyes glowing with the same eerie light as the stone giant they had faced before. Without warning, the statues sprang to life, their movements swift and menacing. Alex drew in a sharp breath, but before he could react, Lyra stepped forward. Her hands glowed with magical energy as she whispered an incantation under her breath, the air around her shimmering with power. With a single gesture, she sent a wave of energy toward the statues, halting them in their tracks. "They're bound to the maze," she said, her voice steady but strained. "They won't stop unless we solve this." Alex surveyed the courtyard, his eyes narrowing as he took in the layout of the statues. Each one stood at a specific angle, their faces turned toward the center of the courtyard where a large stone pedestal sat, empty and waiting. "Look at their positions," he said, his mind racing. "They're pointing toward something, or someone. The pedestal. I think we need to place something there to stop them." Roderick frowned. What could it be? Mara, ever watchful, shifted her gaze to the statues, her eyes narrowing in thought. "It's not a thing they're pointing at," she said quietly. "It's a person." Alex felt the realization hit him like a punch to the chest. "Me," he muttered. "They're pointing at me." Without hesitation, he strode toward the center of the courtyard, ignoring the worried looks from his companions. He climbed onto the pedestal, his heart pounding as the statue's glowing eyes followed his every move. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, as if on command, the statue's movement slowed, their glowing eyes dimming until they returned to their original positions. Lyra let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "I think it worked." But Alex knew the price of standing there. The magic woven into the labyrinth was strong, stronger than he'd anticipated. It wasn't enough just to stand on the pedestal. Something deeper was happening, something that tested not just his physical endurance, but his will. He could feel the pull of the labyrinth on his mind, tempting him to give in, to abandon the mission and succumb to the magic that swirled around him, but he refused to fall. He had come too far, sacrificed too much. His people needed him. Valthoria needed him. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the statues returned to their dormant state, and the path ahead opened. Alex stepped off the pedestal, his legs shaking slightly, but he held his head high, determined to press on. The group continued in silence, each of them keenly aware that the maze was testing not just their strength, but their resolve. Every step they took deeper into the labyrinth brought them closer to their goal, and closer to Malgorth. The final test came when they encountered the dragon. Zephyr, a golden dragon as old as the labyrinth itself, was the last guardian standing between them and the chamber where the silver crown lay hidden. The massive creature lounged atop a pile of glittering treasure, its scales shimmering in the dim light of the chamber. Its eyes, however, were sharp and intelligent, fixed on Alex and his companions with a mixture of amusement and caution. "You've come far," Zephyr rumbled, his voice deep and resonant. "But many have come this far, only to meet their end. What makes you think you'll succeed where others have failed?" Alex stepped forward, his gaze steady as he met the dragon's eyes. "We're not here to take the crown by force," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We seek to restore balance to the land. The crown isn't a weapon to us, it's a way to heal what's been broken." Zephyr tilted his head, considering Alex's words. "And why should I believe you?" "Because we haven't fought our way here," Alex replied. "We've worked together, relied on trust and strategy. We've earned our way through the labyrinth without shedding blood." The dragon's eyes flickered with interest. "Trust, you say? A rare quality in these times." Zephyr shifted his massive body, his scales scraping against the stone floor. "I have guarded this place for centuries, bound by a pact with Malgorth. But I have grown weary of this life. Tell me, young lord, what would you offer me in exchange for passage?" Alex's mind raced. What could he possibly offer a creature as powerful as Zephyr? Gold? Power? No, those things were meaningless to a dragon as ancient as this. Then it hit him. "Freedom," Alex said, his voice steady. "I offer you freedom. The wars are over. Malgorth's time is coming to an end. You don't have to be bound to this place anymore. You can leave, see the world beyond the maze." Zephyr's eyes widened, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. For a long moment, he said nothing, the chamber filled with a tense silence. Then, slowly, a smile spread across the dragon's face. "Freedom," he mused, his voice softer now. "It's been so long since I've heard that word." The dragon rose to his full height, towering over Alex and his companions. "Very well," he said, his voice a low rumble. "I accept your offer. You may pass." With a sweep of his massive tail, Zephyr cleared the way, revealing a hidden passage that led deeper into the heart of the labyrinth. Alex and his companions exchanged a look of relief and gratitude before stepping through the passage, their footsteps echoing in the dimly lit corridor. At last, they arrived at the final chamber. The silver crown sat on a pedestal at the center of the room, bathed in a soft, ethereal light. It was beautiful, crafted from pure silver and adorned with intricate runes that seemed to pulse with energy. But as they approached, a figure materialized before them, his dark robes billowing as if caught in an invisible wind. Malgorth, the evil mage's eyes gleamed with malice as he regarded Alex with a cold smile. "You've come far, boy," he sneered. "But you'll never leave this place with the crown." Alex held his ground, his heart pounding in his chest. "We didn't come here to fight," he said, his voice calm but resolute. "We came to restore balance to the land." Malgorth laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Balance?" he spat. "The crown isn't meant for balance. It's meant for power. And I won't let you take it from me." With a flick of his wrist, Malgorth unleashed a torrent of dark magic, the air crackling with energy as the spell raced toward Alex and his companions. Lyra reacted instantly, raising a shield of magical energy to block the attack, but the force of the spell was immense, sending them all staggering backward. Roderick drew his sword, ready to charge, but Alex held up a hand. "No," he said firmly. "This isn't a battle we can win with swords." Malgorth sneered. "Then how do you plan to defeat me?" Alex took a deep breath, his mind racing. He knew he couldn't defeat Malgorth with force. But he didn't have to. The mage's power was rooted in fear and control, and that was his weakness. "You've spent your life trying to control everything," Alex said, his voice steady. "But control isn't power. It's a cage. And it's the reason you'll fail." Malgorth's eyes narrowed, his grip on the dark magic faltering. What are you talking about? Power comes from trust, from working with others, not controlling them, Alex continued. That's why we've made it this far. Because we trusted each other. As he spoke, the room began to change. The walls of the labyrinth shimmered, the magic that had once held it together beginning to unravel. Zephyr appeared in the doorway, his massive form looming behind Malgorth. You're alone, Alex said, his voice soft but firm. And that's why you'll lose. Malgorth's eyes widened in fear as he realized the truth of Alex's words. The magic he had used to bind the labyrinth was failing, crumbling under the weight of his isolation. With a roar of fury, he tried to unleash one final attack, but it was too late. The magic turned against him, consuming him in a blinding flash of light. When the light faded, Malgorth was gone, and the labyrinth's oppressive presence vanished with him. The silver crown remained, untouched and glowing with a gentle light. Alex approached the crown slowly, his heart pounding in his chest. He reached out and carefully lifted it from the pedestal, feeling its weight in his hands. But as he held it, he realized something Malgorth had never understood. The crown wasn't a symbol of power. It was a symbol of responsibility. Alex turned to his companions, a smile spreading across his face. It's time to go home. Alex returned to Valthoria not as a conqueror, but as a healer. With the power of the silver crown, he restored the land, bringing life back to the barren fields and hope to his people. The crown, once coveted for its power, became a symbol of trust and cooperation, a reminder that true strength came not from domination, but from working together. And as the years passed, Alex's kingdom flourished, not through conquest, but through peace. The silver crown was placed in a place of honor, not on Alex's head, but as a reminder of the journey that had restored Valthoria, and of the trust that had made it possible.